Good morning, everybody. It is Friday, June 24th, 5:53 a.m. Central Time as I speak here. December corn futures up 9 cents at 664 and a half. November soybeans up 2 1/4 at 14.17 3/4. September Chicago wheat up 19 at 968 1/4. September Kansas City wheat up 13 1/4 at 1024. September spring wheat up 5 1/4 at 1085. If you guys are listening on the podcast, appreciate it. Leave me a rating, leave me a review. I could use some more on that Apple app in particular. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the channel, guys. Like these videos, leave me a comment. All of those things will help YouTube and its algorithms to grow this channel for me. I would appreciate that. If you'd like some additional information from me, go to my website, www.standardgrain.com. Check out my premium subscription service today. I send my premium subscribers a ton of information direct from me every single business day. Morning email goes out about 5:30 a.m. Central. You'll see tons of charts, graphics, weather info, every overnight headline you need to be aware of. You'll also get my subscriber-only videos. These are sent out via text and also via email every day. I did one yesterday regarding the grain markets and recession. What happens to these grain markets during recessionary periods? I had a ton of positive feedback from this video. If you guys want to see this deal, sign up today. $50 a month. You can cancel it anytime. There's no other fee. There's no other obligation. Nobody will try to sell you anything else. Just a ton of information direct from me. Nothing beyond that, I promise. Start off with weather here. The U.S. Corn Belt is mostly dry this morning. You got a little bit of rain over parts of Iowa, a little bit over, call it northeast Kansas, I suppose, and then maybe central Minnesota into Wisconsin. You've got some rain. Now, over the next 7 days, you will see some accumulation over Iowa, Minnesota, the eastern part of North Dakota, maybe a little bit of Wisconsin, maybe a little bit of Illinois, but really dry for most of the eastern Corn Belt. A lot of the Mid-South is going to stay kind of on the dry side, and a lot of the plains from Texas through Oklahoma, Kansas, most of Nebraska, most of South Dakota on the dry side over the next 7 days. Now, the models are kind of indicating to me that we're going to see some rains return to the Corn Belt during that first week in July. And there's definitely some conflict between the GFS and the Euro this morning, in regard to coverage and location, but some more generalized rains expected during that first week in July. You look at the 6 to 10 day map, and certainly the western half of the Corn Belt, they're expecting above normal rainfall. The eastern third, at least, you're still talking below normal rainfall, and the temperatures are still kind of on the warmer side here. So this heat kind of continues to be a trend on and off. Your 8 to 14 day offering odds of above normal rainfall for, I'd say, the western half of the Corn Belt, and still this heat sticks around. I was looking at the pressure systems this morning, and kind of what it indicates, or the GFS at least, is that you could see kind of a high pressure ridge type deal come back in around 4th of July. That's a bullish deal potentially if it's realized. It's a ways out. Weather forecasts can turn on a dime. We've seen a whole bunch of shifts already this week. I talked about weather yesterday, and I said, this is probably one of the causes for the sell-off. And I did not mean to imply necessarily that the forecast is perfect, because it's not. There are a lot of areas of the eastern Corn Belt in particular that could really dry out and are already turning dry after this heat wave. So you're definitely going to need those rains to hit during the first week of July. And if they don't, that's something that could be friendly to the market. But for the moment, you had a shift toward a little bit wetter pattern potentially for that first week in July. And these maps indicating that at least this western half of the Corn Belt is going to look a little bit better in terms of precipitation. So no, it's not a perfect forecast, guys. There's no such thing. There could definitely be some issues regarding dryness in the eastern part of the Corn Belt in particular. U.S. drought did increase slightly last week in corn and soybean areas. Corn areas experiencing a drought now total 19% versus 17% the week prior. That number's come down a lot over the last few months. That number was 36% for U.S. corn areas back in mid-March. U.S. soybean areas experiencing a drought increased to 11% from 9% last week. That number was 26% back in mid-March. So we saw these numbers in regard to drought tick up just a little bit last week, but we're still way below where we were, 3-4 months ago. So drought generally trending in the right direction, less drought. You still got issues, of course, in Texas, especially western Oklahoma, western Kansas, a lot of Nebraska, western South Dakota, and then, the western part of the country, generally speaking, has been drought-stricken for a long, long time, as we know. Officials from G7 countries will push potentially temporary waivers on biofuel mandates. This is an interesting headline. So Great Britain and Germany in particular are considering such measures amid soaring food prices. So essentially they would eliminate biofuel mandates temporarily in the name of, high food prices, that sort of thing. A British official told Reuters this: "We're quite keen to look at the issue of biofuel mandates to ensure that crops are prioritized for food and consumption and not necessarily for use in fuels." Now, at this point, it's not clear whether or not such measures have any sort of broad-based support. The G7 includes Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, Britain, and the United States. If you saw such a move, it would have an impact overseas in places like Europe. We know that biofuel in the United States is generally more competitive. It's more economically viable than biofuel produced elsewhere. But still, I mean, could you imagine the situation where you have Joe Biden takes the podium and says, we're gonna waive the biofuel mandate, even if it fundamentally didn't really do much to the market? Just the idea of it would, in my view, probably cause some big time speculation in the market. So I don't think that's going to happen. I really don't. But if it did, it probably wouldn't be a good thing for the market. And I know there's always the argument, Joe, it's economically viable, octane, all those things. Yeah, I know that. But it would be a really bad headline if we saw it. I hope we don't see it. I don't think we will, but something to consider. Speaking of ethanol, EIA ethanol data was not released this week. EIA said on their website, several U.S. Energy Information Administration product releases scheduled for the week of June 20th will be delayed as a result of system issues. I didn't see any update on this as of this morning, so I don't know when these ethanol numbers are coming out. Maybe we'll see them today, maybe not. I'm not sure. Global vegetable oil markets remain under pressure. Today could mark an 11th consecutive lower close for the soybean oil market. That August contract has lost nearly 20% from its high that was posted just on June 8th. Malaysian palm oil futures fell sharply overnight again. They're probably going to post their largest weekly drop since March. Here's a quote from a Singapore-based analyst. Losses in soybean oil and strong production from the Malaysian Palm Oil Association emerging at the high end of expectations triggered a sell-off in the futures this morning. The Malaysian Palm Oil Association estimated that production during the first 3 weeks of June was up 16% from the prior month. We've got a big report next week. This is the USDA planted acreage and grain stocks report. It will be out on Thursday, June 30th at 11 a.m. Central. This report is often associated with big-time volatility in these grain markets. Tons of variables here when it comes to acreage. Stocks is a whole different conversation. I'll talk about this in a little bit more detail next week. We do have an export sales from USDA out this morning. It's delayed a day because of the holiday. Old crop corn sales expected 300 to 600, new crop 200 to 600. Old crop soybean sales flat to maybe 300 positive. New crop soybean sales expected 50,000 to 500, quite a range there. Wheat sales should be 150 to 400 for the current marketing year. Remember, guys, July grain options expire today. If you have any open positions, make sure you take a look. Live cattle were lower yesterday. Feeder cattle were higher. Cash trade 137 in the south, 145 to 148 in the north. I read a little bit about some 150 somewhere. I'm not sure if that was real or not. The U.S. dollar is lower this morning. The stock market attempting to rally. The S&P's up 28. Dow Jones up 200. The bonds are off. Gold's down $3. Crude oil up $1.55 at 105.82 in the August WTI. Have a great weekend, guys. I'll talk to you Monday.